cobbler for tonight. If there was ever a time that we needed to be reminded of how to respond to conflict, boy, it's now. We are in week 13 of the COVID-19 crisis, and the economy is struggling to reopen, and racial tensions are pretty high right now. There's lots of division in our country, our community, and even in families, and it's keeping us all apart. So during these times, I actually often think about my favorite chapter in Scripture, which is Romans 12. It is a chapter about sacrifice, service, and love in action. And I posted my first blog post really giving the definition and the framing around Romans 12:13, which says, share with God's people in need, practice hospitality. Well, what exactly is that word hospitality used there? Well, it comes from the Greek word philoxenia. Philos means brotherly love, and xenia means stranger. So, yeah, it's about showing brotherly love to a stranger. In fact, it's urging us to do that in Scripture. Does that seem risky or dangerous to you? Inviting a stranger into your personal home? Somebody that doesn't think like you, look like you, somebody that doesn't speak your same language, or maybe they don't align with your political opinions. Maybe there's somebody that is a different faith than you. Well, practicing biblical hospitality can be risky, of course, but I want to encourage you to do it. It's so worth it, especially when you think about how we can have compassion for one another and be great listeners to other people's opinions and what formed their opinions. So we all know that our world is changing very drastically. People are dying, losing their jobs. I've watched people grieve without their friends and family close by. That's very hard. They're doubting their faith, and they're doing all this in isolation, which is incredibly difficult. And as I've listened to the experts talk about safety guidelines and how we need to social distance, wear masks, and eat at restaurants and things like that, I was concerned that I was also watching the biblical practice of hospitality take its last breath. But just like a physician practices medicine, I have committed my life to the practice of biblical hospitality. So I couldn't watch this practice of hospitality die. So that's what this video is about. We're actually going to talk about the biblical practice of hospitality and how it can heal in times like this. So I hope you'll join me for these series of videos, and I look forward to sharing them with you from my home. This is all about hospitality in action. Welcome home. Fear has certainly gripped all of us at one time or another these last several months. Fear of leaving our homes, fear of having people in our homes, fear of touching things or touching people, fearful of our financial future. We've also struggled with how to keep our faith over fear. And how do we do that when we're listening to science and data and experts give us advice? Well, with my love for people and wanting to help them reconnect as we emerge out of this, I knew I had to find a way to do this safely and comfortably. And so I want to share with you just a couple of things that I think will be helpful as we emerge from stage 2 and stage 3. And especially now, as we're just a few weeks away from celebrating Independence Day on 4th of July. I'm sure many people will want to have people over. So I want to give you some tips on how you can practice hospitality and host people in your home in a safe way. This information is based on the CDC guidelines, and I will send you the link to their website so you can follow along and read those. But I want to highlight just a few things and encourage you that you can do this with confidence and you can do it safely. I would still recommend that you limit your gatherings to a small group of people, less than 20 for sure, and that will help you keep it manageable. And first and foremost, in all the guidelines, if you are sick or someone in your family is sick, don't host a gathering and don't attend a gathering if you or your family members are sick. There will be plenty of opportunity when you're well, but there will be things to go to. So let's abide by that and help everybody else. Hosting gatherings outdoors. This is something that the CDC recommends, and summertime is a great time to do this. We have lots of pretty weather upon us. Well, at my home, my house is not very big, and hosting 20 people inside would be impossible to do with social distancing. So it's actually our front yard is where we end up hosting a lot of the times when we have family and friends over. Just to pick an area of your yard that has some shade, and if you're worried about having enough seating for people, just ask people to bring their own lawn chairs. They're happy to do it. You can put small tables or TV trays or even boxes around to help people with their beverages and kind of to hold their plates. Family groups can sit together, but they should sit 6 feet apart from the next family group. And I would also recommend maybe some activities that would encourage social distancing, like sidewalk chalk for kids, or frisbee, or you can do cornhole. In the fall, we do a lot of pumpkin carving contests at my house, but in the summertime, it might look more like watermelon carving contest or pineapple carving contest even. So you can make it fun. Clean hands often. So that guests may clean their hands outdoors, I would actually recommend providing some type of hand washing station. Now, it could be something very simple. You can just use hand sanitizer, or you can put disinfectant wipes, either cloth or disposable, out for them. You can go and look on the internet and find lots of creating hand washing stations that people use when they're camping even. We had our Sunday school class over a few weeks ago, and I was really pulling my hair out about what to do about a hand washing station. So I went completely into my left brain and started thinking about ways I was going to engineer a hand washing station using 5-gallon buckets, the water hose, some kind of water hose attachment, a towel, and soap on a rope. And as I was trying to describe all this to my husband, he kind of scratched his head and he said, "You know what? I think I have a fish cleaning table in the attic." I had no idea what a fish cleaning table was. So he comes down out of the attic and he brings out this portable table that has folding legs. It hooks up to your water hose. It has a faucet attachment and a sink built in. And it was perfect. I ended up putting my soap and paper towels and hand sanitizer, bug spray, sunscreen on top of the table. We put 2 5-gallon buckets under there to catch the wastewater and one for trash. And I was elated, over the top. You would have thought it was Christmas morning. He was laughing his head off about how excited I was about a fish cleaning table. Well, I will also provide a link to the fish cleaning table in case you want to get one of those for yourself. The next tip is limit the number of people handling or serving food. So to stay safe, we can no longer serve food family style or church potluck format where the food's just laid out on a table and people pick up each serving spoon and put things on their plate. The CDC actually suggests that you can kind of work around this by having guests bring their own food and beverage, so there's no sharing of food. Or you can also pick up food from a restaurant, and as your guests come, you can ask them to bring a beverage if they want to do that. But people can just drop money in a basket to help cover the cost of the restaurant food. So that's another way to do it safely. But if you're like me, a Martha at heart, you always want to help by bringing something to a potluck. And so your guests may want to help you do that, and you can still do that safely. I would recommend that if you're going to have people bring items to the potluck, that you designate a table or a place for them to set the items. And then designate one or two other friends of yours to help you co-host in the kitchen. So you're limiting the number of people that can come into the kitchen and limiting the number of hands that are touching food and touching the serving spoons. So I think that will help you. Let's talk about serving the food. So it's important that you wash your hands, you and your kitchen co-host, wash your hands thoroughly before you start serving and prepping the food. And you should just designate yourself to one or two foods that you're going to serve, and your other co-host can designate what foods. Like I'll be at meats and bread, and Katie would be at the vegetables or the salad, and Elise would be at desserts and beverages, so that I'm only touching those utensils for those particular dishes, and I'm putting them on the plate as the guest has walked through holding their plate. And if you use pre-wrapped utensils, then that will help the guest as well and keep everything kind of sanitary. Well, for canned and bottled beverages, you can put those in an ice chest. Of course, disinfect them first before you put them in. And I would recommend you just leave the ice chest lid open so that people don't have to handle that multiple times. If you're serving beverages in cups and dispensing the beverages in the kitchen, then I would assign one kitchen co-host to fill the glasses with ice, pour the beverage, and I would write the guest names on the cup and then hand the cup to the guest. Bathroom break. Undoubtedly, your guests are going to need to use their bathroom, and that's perfectly fine. Just disinfect, clean your bathroom before your guests arrive, and instead of putting out a hand towel, I would put a roll of paper towels for them to dry their hands off with, and put the wastebasket by the bathroom door so that if they want to open the door with the paper towel and drop it in the basket, then they can do that safely. And I think it's fun also just to use a little bit of your personality or your sense of humor. Since everybody is reminding us to wash our hands for 20 seconds, utilize that in your bathroom so that people can kind of see you're having fun with that. I actually like to write, movie quotes or something on my bathroom that's humorous so that people can read it while they're washing their hands for 20 seconds. Like, did you know that the opening words to the Star Trek TV series, if you read it twice, it takes 20 seconds. But you do have to read it in your very slow, dramatically paused William Shatner voice. Live long and prosper. All right, all you Marthas out there, that's a lot of information for sure. But I wanted to get past the how to have people in your home safely so we can move to the most important part, and that is the why. I think Christ gave Martha great advice in Luke 10:38 through 41 when she was having 15 people in her home for dinner. It says, as Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him, and she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that she had to make. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, Martha. Okay, I threw the third one in there just for fun. The Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. He was not telling Martha that opening her home and preparing for guests was a bad thing. Not at all. He was simply giving her instruction about priorities, putting people before tasks. So I want to encourage you, use shortcuts, use paper plates, find out ways so that you don't have to be in the kitchen too much, and you can spend time with people that are coming into your home. Put the relationship over the task. Well, putting relationship over task and making a connection with people is certainly the focus at Hospitality House of Tulsa. We provide lodging, meals, prayer support, and many, many more things for family members of hospitalized patients, as well as outpatients that are traveling to Tulsa from distances of 30 miles up to 800 miles away. Can you imagine hosting 1,200 people from 500 families in your home during a year? Well, that's what we do at Hospitality House. So if you'd like to learn more about our ministry, I want to encourage you to go to our website. It's hhtulsa.org and check it out. While you're there, would you consider making a donation to help us continue serving these families that are in medical crisis? We would really appreciate that. Hey, I would love to hear how you are hosting people in your home over the 4th of July holiday. So feel free to comment or post pictures on the blog, and I would love to see that. But now I've got to get back to my cobbler. We've got neighbors coming over tonight to share dessert with, and I hope I'll see you back here on my porch as we continue to talk about hospitality in action.